Ansco Shur shot. This is one from the 40s. There's some from previous decades and some from the 50s, I believe. This one from the 40s. There are other videos that show loading film and basic operation or something in particular I'd like to point out. This is one I got fairly inexpensive. When I got it, parts were rattling around and these levers were all loose. I'd like to show you what my son and I found. Perchance you have a similar one. They're easy to get the front plate off. You can do it just by pushing and release and to get the pins off. I'll use a screwdriver just to make it a little easier here. I'd like to show you the shutter mechanism. It's all made onto this one plate, and this one plate is tacked in place with 4, this looks like little carpet tacks. 1, 2, 3, 4. There were 2 more, I think, that were just to help in the assembly to put it in place. What we found is all these tacks were completely out, rattling around. In fact, a couple of them were inside. So if you find one of these in a shop or something, and if you rattle it around, if you hear a big piece clunking around, that's probably the whole shutter mechanism. If you hear little bitty pieces rattling around, that probably means these tacks are rattling around in there, and you might be able to get it back together. That's what I want to show you. What I did, or what we did, is just figured out where this needed to go, figured out which tacks needed to go where, and they fit kind of loosely, so I just put a drop of wood glue on each particular tack and just tapped them back into place. And when the shutter mechanism was rattling around loose, we couldn't get it to operate at all, but once we held it in place, then we could get it to function. We were thinking maybe something was missing or something was completely out of place, but no, it's just this had to be held in the proper place and then it would work. And what I'd like to show you is it's functioning now. And see, as you pull the lever, this point moves closer to that point, and the spring builds up some tension until it gets just past it. Click. I'll do it a few more times. And for demonstration, this lever called time, I think what it means is if you pull it out, you see how the little lever, it limits the travel of the rotating disc such that it stays open, the aperture there stays exposed, and you would time your exposure by how long you held it down. Release. So I'll use this mode to demonstrate. See how when you push it down, this moves aside, and you'd think, well, what's the purpose of that? The aperture is not open anyway. But as if this time were not engaged, that would have gone right past. But then when you release, you can see this covers it for the return trip of that shutter mechanism. So that's the 2 things I wanted to show you. One, if you hear parts rattling around, all these parts are all on this one plate, all one unit, so if you hear parts rattling around, it's probably just that those little tacks have come out. The mechanism itself is probably still all good, and You just tack it back in place. Now, if somebody's opened it up and lost the little tacks, well, that's a different story. But and the other thing is just to show you the operation. And put it back together. Also, I was impressed with the vintage of this, and that these mirrors, when looking through the lens, through the opening through the window here, it's kind of clouded. I just assumed it was that the mirror had become corroded over the years, but no, it's that way on purpose. The lens looks good. The mirror surface is good. It's shiny metal. It's just that the glass is textured. Anyway, showing you just putting it back together. Have to put it together on this side first because of that reflector.